Because when you mention Caitlin Clark's name in a negative light, especially in 2025, you're not just starting an argument, you're picking a fight with a movement. And the media started turning on him too. Dan Le Batard, who rarely sides with Stephen A., called it out directly. That wasn't commentary. That was careless. Caitlin Clark is doing something we've never seen before. And instead of celebrating it, you're throwing shade because your LeBron feud got messy. Michael Wilbon added fuel to the fire. Caitlin Clark isn't just a basketball player. She's a movement. She's pulling in ratings the WNBA's never seen before. She's filling arenas that used to have empty seats. She's bringing in new fans, young fans, male fans, families, people who never watched a WNBA game before now tune in just to see what she'll do next. And ESPN knows it. Therefore, when Stephen A. went after her, he wasn't just making waves, he was shaking the foundation of ESPN's future. And ironically, it wasn't the first time Caitlin had dealt with this kind of criticism. Ever since her breakout run at Iowa, Clark had faced skeptics who called her overhyped, protected, or too cocky. But each time she answered the same way, with her game. She dropped 40-point nights, she nailed game-winning threes, she showed up in the biggest moments, and didn't just survive the spotlight, she owned it. So when Stephen A. tried to tie her to media favoritism, it felt like deja vu. And this time, her supporters had the platform and the power to fight back. One viral clip summed it up best. A fan shouted from the stands during a Fever game, "She's not hype, she's him." And the crowd roared. Meanwhile, Stephen A. Smith was starting to crack. He tried to walk it back. An anonymous source told a sports media blog, "We want debate, but Caitlin Clark is untouchable right now. She's good for business, and Stephen A. is hurting the brand." That's when the narrative shifted, because this wasn't just about hurt feelings, it was about money. Caitlin Clark had become ESPN's most valuable rising star. She was already the centerpiece of a full-length docuseries. Her WNBA debut broke viewership records. She had become appointment television, and advertisers were pouring in because of her. Therefore, when Stephen A. went after her, he wasn't just making waves, he was shaking the foundation of ESPN's future. She stepped back onto the court and dropped 29 points, 7 assists, and 6 rebounds against a top-seeded team. And the post-game coverage said it all. Stephen A. talks, Caitlin Clark delivers. That headline ran on every major sports site, and it wasn't just a recap, it was a statement. This wasn't LeBron's fight anymore. This was the moment Caitlin Clark became untouchable. And that's rare. That kind of unity doesn't happen unless something is truly out of bounds. And that's exactly what this was. Now Stephen A. finds himself in an unfamiliar position, not as the voice of reason, not as the shot caller, but as the guy who went too far. Again. And Caitlin Clark, she just keeps rising. So where does it go from here? Will ESPN force Stephen A. to issue a formal on-air apology? Will he keep doubling down to protect his brand? Or will he finally learn that not every player is fair game, especially when they're redefining an entire league? Put some respect on her name. That girl is changing the game. And it didn't stop there. Fans on social media turned Stephen A. into a target. Hashtags like Defend Caitlin and Stephen A. Out of Touch trended for days. TikToks mocking his take racked up millions of views. ESPN's own comment sections were flooded with calls for him to apologize, not just to Caitlin, but to the entire WNBA community. Even ESPN insiders began to distance themselves. Molly Qerim, his longtime First Take co-host, looked visibly uncomfortable the next morning when Stephen A. tried to brush off the drama. Because Caitlin Clark isn't just a rookie, she's the face of women's basketball. She's breaking records, filling arenas, and rewriting what's possible for the WNBA. So when Stephen A. tried to lump her into his ongoing beef with LeBron, it backfired badly. Careers were put on blast, narratives shifted, and suddenly, one of the most powerful voices in sports was being told to sit this one out. But Caitlin didn't have to say anything, because the entire sports world came to her defense. WNBA players, ESPN insiders, casual fans, legends, teammates, and even rivals all pushed back against Smith's narrative. And that's rare. That kind of unity doesn't happen unless something is truly out of bounds. And that's exactly what this was. Smith has made a career out of bold opinions, fiery debates, and going where no one else will. But this time, he went too far. While the media was already locked in on his feud with LeBron James, Stephen A. dropped a comment that sent shockwaves through both the NBA and WNBA. He suggested that Caitlin Clark, yes, that Caitlin Clark, might be benefiting from the same kind of media favoritism that's surrounding Bronny James. It was one sentence, one throwaway line, but it set off a chain reaction unlike anything we've seen. There's no reason to mention her in that context. None. It's lazy. And it's unfair. At that point, even Stephen A.'s signature move, yelling louder, stopped working. He tried to reframe the debate. He tried to spin the moment, but the damage was done. And Caitlin Clark? She never said a word. She let her supporters speak for her. She let her game speak for her. She stepped back onto the court and dropped 29 points, 7 assists, and 6 rebounds against a top-seeded team. And the post-game coverage said it all. The reaction was instant. The fallout, brutal. To some, it was just another hot take, but to everyone else, especially fans of women's basketball, it was pure disrespect. Because Caitlin Clark isn't just a trending name, she's a phenomenon. She's the NCAA's all-time leading scorer. She helped break attendance records across the country. And in her rookie WNBA season, she's brought a tidal wave of new fans, sponsors, and national interest to a league that desperately needed it. Therefore, when Stephen A. Breanna Stewart posted a photo of Caitlin Clark pulling up from the logo, captioned, "This isn't hype, this is skill." Chiny Ogwumike, who also works at ESPN, tweeted, "You do not come for Caitlin like that." And Caitlin Clark? She never said a word. She let her supporters speak for her. She let her game speak for her. Careers were put on blast, narratives shifted, and suddenly, one of the most powerful voices in sports was being told to sit this one out. What happens when the loudest guy in the room finally says the wrong name? Let's break it all down. The fuse was already lit. Stephen A. Smith was in the middle of a media war with LeBron James, one that had already gone viral.
We didn't see the face of LeBron James, the face of the league.
He was even getting clowned on Instagram by LeBron himself.
Which leads obviously to you and Stephen A. Hey, legit, that feels like a moment that had been brewing for a long time.
He's like on a Taylor Swift tour run right now.
Oh yeah.
But somehow, he made things worse. It happened during an unscripted moment on his late-night radio show. The topic was Bronny, again. And Stephen A. wanted to make a larger point about how media coverage can boost certain players unfairly, and that's when he said it. If we're going to talk about Bronny James and how his last name impacts his coverage, maybe we should be having the same conversation about Caitlin Clark. The sports world did it for her. This wasn't just a bad take. It was a total misread of the moment, because Caitlin Clark isn't just a rookie, she's the face of women's basketball. She's breaking records, filling arenas, and rewriting what's possible for the WNBA. He was facing criticism over his comments about Bronny James. He was being fact-checked over false claims about Kobe Bryant's memorial.
There's a lot that we don't talk about with LeBron James. Remember when the memorial service took place for Kobe Bryant? I'm quite sure he had his reasons. LeBron was devastated, loved Kobe. We get that. I can't believe I didn't see him there. Magic was there, Jordan was there, Shaq was there, Steph Curry was there, D-Wade was there. The NBA community was in attendance. We didn't see LeBron James. Two of the most conspicuous, biggest moments, albeit for completely different, and in Kobe's case, absolutely tragic reasons.
The next time Stephen A. says something controversial, people will watch. But now, they'll be listening a little closer, because he didn't just pick the wrong battle, he picked the wrong star. And Caitlin Clark, she's just getting started.
Let me tell y'all why y'all need to stop that. We're gonna be honest on this show.
Why?
The fact of the matter is, stop comparing yourself to the NBA, because the NBA makes exponentially more. So because it was a combination of two things. Number one is the money that they make, and number two is the position that you're in from a collective bargaining perspective to ask yourself, how much credit do you deserve?
Stephen A. Smith has made a career out of bold opinions, fiery debates, and going where no one else will. But this time, he went too far.